craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worship. You can see that the uproar of the silversmiths led to Demetrius was centered actually around their bread and butter. They made those little images and sold them, and they were doing very well. There would be many people come to the temple of Diana in Ephesus, since it was one of the seven wonders of the world. So these men were getting rich by selling these images. I tell you again, you cannot step on a man's pocketbook without hearing him say, ouch. The worship of Diana was spread throughout Asia. Ephesus was a center of commerce and a center of religion and a center of worship. It was a center for the Oriental and the Occidental, a place where East and West did meet. The worst in both came to Ephesus. Verse 28, and when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, great is Diana of the Ephesians. They went around the city with these placards shouting, great is Diana of the Ephesians. Verse 29, and the whole city was filled with confusion, and having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions, in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. And then Paul would have entered into the people. The disciples suffered him not. Paul would have been mobbed, of course. He would absolutely have been killed. He already had one experience like that over in the Galatian country when he was stoned in Lystra. Verse 31, and certain of the chief of Asia, which were his friends, went unto him, desiring him that he would not adventure himself into the theater. This is a mob action which is taking place. The chief of Asia were political or religious officials called Asiarchs, who advised Paul against trying to address the mob. They told him it would be foolish and wouldn't do a bit of good for him to get into the mob. Verse 32, some therefore cried one thing and some another, for the assembly was confused, and the more part knew not whether they were come together. And they drew Alexander out of the multitude, the Jews putting him forward, and Alexander beckoned with the hand and would have made his defense unto the people. Alexander was probably a convert who was with Paul. Verse 34, but when they knew that he was a Jew, all with one voice about the space of 2 hours cried out, great is Diana of Ephesus. This was typical mob action. Many of them didn't even know why they were gathered together. Reminds me of whenever they went on these college campuses and interviewed people. They had no idea why that they were shouting from the river to the sea. They were just part of the mob action. People get caught up in the moment. However, notice that they do not grant freedom of speech to anyone else. They would not permit Alexander to speak because they wanted to run around and squeal, great is Diana of Euphrates, like what they did with Vivek when he went outside the DNC to the demonstrations and tried to talk to people. They wouldn't let him talk.